I'll confirm. Hello, scribes. Good day. It's not good rising, it's good afternoon on the 4th of June. We're going to talk about hydroxy gas, engine decarb, our results, HHO, and hydrogen separately. Myself, David, and brother Lee John, even in Sheffield, are going to talk and take some questions. So this is the second hangout that I've set up. The first one had some issues and disappeared, to be fair. So if you check the comments for the description, you've got there the links for Facebook. I've put Lee John's first is LM Lima Mikey Carbon Clean, and there's a website there, lmcarboncleaning.com, and then I've put David's, mine, underneath my Facebook for Hydrogen Doctor, and the website for hydrogendoctor.com. So if you look at the details there, the description, all the relevant bits are there for you. So good day, good rising, good afternoon. Thank you, Lee, for joining and giving us some of your time. I'm going to hand it over to you in a minute and just say to the scribes that you have been using a hydrogen cleaning box in carbon cleaning hydrogen box in Sheffield there. When I say hydrogen, they generate oxygen and hydrogen, unlike the engine accessory that I have on the Turan 1.9 diesel, which is exclusively oxygen, is not delivered into the engine, and the hydrogen 2.HHO, so 2 hydrogen atoms, molecules, gas, elements are added, and the oxygen from the HHO is taken away and dumped prior to going into the engine, because on the inlet manifold for most iron horses, petrol and diesel, you have the engine drawing from the air intake under the engine bay, feeding into the inlet manifold for the combustion with the air. So the oxygen contained in that is more than enough, and we'll elaborate on that later. So Lee, without further ado, I'd like you to talk to me and to the scribes and let us know anywhere, start anywhere, finish anywhere, what's your experiences, thoughts, and where you are, and what you aim to do, please, if that's all right, brother.
No problem. Well, my company's called LM Carbon Cleaning, and I've been carbon cleaning for just shy of a year now, with brilliant results for cleaning engine from excessive carbon buildup. What it does better than anything that we've noticed and we've got results for is lowering emissions, which, given the current climate, there's not a better thing to have done to your car, in my opinion. It also improves your miles per gallon. Well, it restores everything. It doesn't add anything. It restores. By moving the carbon out your engine, it restores miles per gallon. It can restore horsepower, performance, throttle responsiveness. And like I said, the best thing it does better than anything is lower emissions.
Here we go. Yes, I've got some paperwork. I've done previous videos, and I found the same. The NOx, the gases, the hydrocarbons, the CO2. There's a mixture. For those that don't know, the general vehicle engine setup is to burn, I'd say, percent average, depending on the mileage of your engine and the build and the manufacturer. 30% to 60% can come out of the exhaust unburned. So much like the Volkswagen scandal, where they had the benchmarking computer detection, where it knew it was going through the test for benchmarking, Volkswagen very cunningly put some software in that restricted the emissions. Well, we don't need to lie, we don't need to commit fraud, and 20,000 deaths via airborne toxic pollutants a year in England and Wales, the United Kingdom, the corporate of. So it's very interesting, the amounts of the gases and the reductions there, how much the engine is designed to burn from the management setting of the electronic controller unit. That's not your onboard diagnostic systems. They have a lot of machinery components in these cars and vehicles. We are very careful with what we do here and how we do it, but we are noticing that there is a marginal error there with the manufacturers and how much the engine combusts, how efficient that is. Never mind, that's from factory new. Then you've got the buildup of dirt, grime, grease, oil, particulates, flakes over time. We would estimate that every 100,000 miles on a clock there, on an iron horse, every 100,000 trots it does, it will lose in the region of 20 brake horsepower. So as Brother Lee has said there quite eloquently, he cannot add, gases cannot add extra horses and strength, but what it can do is restore through the mismanagement and design, ECU, and the buildup of grease, grime, particulates and carbon, hydrocarbons and so forth. That slows down, it forces things to have less space, and it generally, EGRs and that are common faults, aren't they? So can you fix an EGR valve with a hydrogen clean, brother? Over to you.
Well, if it's carbon buildup, yes, we can. But if you know it's carbon buildup, you've obviously had a look at it in the first place, so you clean it there. And then if you're guessing, maybe we can, maybe we can't. I've done 3 myself, and I've fixed it once, because once it was just carbon buildup, preventing the EGR valve from working correctly. But the other 2 times it failed to fix the problem, and it was an actual mechanical fault. Now, a gas can't fix a physical problem, because all we do is add a gas that gently enriches the air, that gives it a better burn, that burns away all that excess carbon, or gunk, as it's known in the motor trade. Because when carbon gets wet, it's like sun. When it gets wet, it goes like Marmite, and it sticks to your engine and clogs it all up. Well, our little machine, all it does is make the air a lot richer, so it burns it all off, returning your car to a younger state. It's not going to make it brand new, and it's not. I always say it's a detox for your engine, having a carbon clean. It's not going to give you a new car. It's not going to improve. Like, it's not. You're not going to go from, say, 25 miles per gallon to 45 miles per gallon. That's just ridiculous. But you might see 4 or 5 miles increase. A smoother run as well. Customers always say to me, it feels smoother. My car is more responsive and it's smoother, because we've just detoxed your engine for you. We've got rid of all that grime and all that carbon, because carbon is so fine, it floats all over your engine. So you can get it in all parts of your engine, some very difficult to reach. I mean, if you were to ask a mechanic to clean your engine, we're talking thousands of pounds to clean your engine and put it back together. Yeah.
Stripping the engine. Back in the day, you used to see Capri engines stripped out and Fords and bits and bobs all over here, and a lot of
that
money.
Would be better. That would be the best way, because he's going to get all of it. Whereas our machine, if we're being honest, it can remove up to 75% of the carbon buildup. Not all of it, but 75 to 80% our machine can remove. And, you know, we can do that for a few pounds, and it takes between an hour to 2 hours. Now, you take your car to a mechanic and have your engine stripped and cleaned, it's going to be... My mechanic told me you do it at mate's rates for me, for my BMW, 1,200 quid and 4 days.
Oof. And that's pushing it.
£1,200 and 4 days to do roughly the same job that me and you can do in an hour and a half to 2 hours.
How many have you said, how many would you say? Yeah, first gear I've noticed is, and the clients that I've gone to, I've been in research and development for a good couple of years now, 24 months at least, and focused on the last 12 months here and there, but not enough is what I should have been doing. But I've got enough conclusive data from myself, the own horses, my own M.O.T.s, V.O.S.A tests and emissions. So how many in the last year would you say that you like clients, customers, projects have you had where you've successfully had a turnaround on emissions, where they've gone for M.O.T or they've gone and come back, and have you had any experience with the rescuing of emissions on the side that the government and legislation says, sorry, that's not got a chance, and then has anybody come to you and said, I've heard that this system, this technology, anything like that for me, Lee?
Yeah, so your emissions is allowed to be 0, 8 and nothing above. So I've had 9 cars come to me from 2 different M.O.T test centres that I've got to know. I've had 9 come to me that have failed on their emissions, and all 9 have passed after I've done a carbon clean. But they've not just passed, David, they've absolutely walked it. The people at the M.O.T test centre, even the ones where I've done 5 or 6 for them, they're still amazed that I don't change the oil, I don't change the filters, I just put a machine in that puts gas into the air intake, and the results are ridiculous. The best one I've had, it failed its MOT, so it was above a 0.8, it was above, and after I did an hour and a half clean, it went to 0.02.
Wow.
So not, I reckon normal air must be 0.01, especially in an MOT test centre. So, I mean, it really doesn't. And I'm not surprised. I've had customers. One guy, he loved his car. He had a Peugeot and he loved it. It was pride and joy. And he was saying to me, look, I went to MOT test centre and it was 0.35. So I thought, well, that's clean. So I explained to him, look, carbon clean is good for you. But I must explain it's not night and day, but it's well worth having done. And I always do a double check on my customers. And I phoned him a couple of days later, said, how's it going? And he said, well, I think it's pulling better and I think it's quieter. So I don't think you were 100% sold on it. But then 4 days later, I got a text message saying, oh my God, Lee, it's been for its MOT and last year it was 0.35 and it's 0.04.
Wow.
And he's left that review on my actual Facebook page, LM Carbon Cleaning on Facebook. You can read his review, smashing fella. Yeah. And he said, I've left the guy at the MOT test centre, I've left him a load of leaflets, and I'm sure he'll be getting in touch with you because he's amazed. He could not believe how low it was on the emissions side.
He takes pride and joy in that. He's had it probably since new then. He's put every mile on the clock. He's serviced it when it should be, whether it needs it or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you say.
He's a real enthusiast.
And he's come back, and the proof is in the pudding there. The substance in law, we say the substance over the form. Talk is cheap. You know, there's many videos on YouTube with different technologies, different techniques. That's another thing, the technique of, I don't want you to reveal how you do that because that's something you learn through experience and shouldn't just be given away. Yeah, we don't go hard, fast and crazy. No. Because too much heat, too fast, and too much decarbonisation can lead to horrific engines stuck on, not turning off, overheating, cam belt snapping. It's not something where you just go in and attack it. There is a technique. There is an ideology behind this, and the government
I've seen
the United Kingdom, you know. Go on, carry on.
But I've seen other people carbon clean, and I thought to myself, I'm really glad they're not doing my car.
Yeah,
seriously, they are really revving the engine excessive. I mean, I never go above 3,000 revs. I mean, and I've seen people really putting the foot and revving it, and that's not the key. The technique is I do a 5 minute on, 5 minute off technique, and I very rarely go above 3,000 revs. You don't want to damage a car. It's okay to rev a car, but cars aren't designed to be stationary. They're designed to be moving and taking in lots of air, you know, and I see it, and it's a little bit scary. So you've got to be careful who you go to.
Yeah, I concur. Yes, I'm just taking my video off because I'm moving around and I don't want to distract folk with my travelling. But yes, this is another thing there. So you can look at the technologies out there, and you can choose, and you can go to whomever you want. But whatever, you know, we have these dirty diesels running around. You know, we got sold them initially. Government incentivized it and said these petrol engines, benzine, kicking out too many CO2s, global warming back in the day, as it was, you know, in the late 80s, forecast. And it was, I remember John Major and people talking about Maastricht and saying by 2025. And when I was 11 or whatever, in, you know, late 80s, early 90s, and hearing this as a little boy, I was like, wow, that's like, you know, it's only 90 now. That's over 25 years away or something, 2015. And we're struggling in 2015. Now I've grown up, and 30 years later, you know, Tiananmen Square massacre, when Donald Trump arrived the other day, I was just saying about time and how it's passed on. And we don't seem to have encapsulated a great deal here. So this is why me and Lee are doing this today. There is a simplicity of the fact that water can release the hydrogen and oxygen. We would never have imagined you know, even at school back in the 80s, you know, 90s for me and Lee, the science teacher coming out saying, hey, up today we're going to set fire to water, would have never wagged the day or skived the day of school if they'd have made it interesting and kept us, you know, they kept us repeating stuff, though. They gave us what the academic institutions want us to have, and not to any benefit of our own. The world is 80% water, and here we are burning fossil fuels, creating hydrocarbons, gases, CO2s, emissions, particulates, when there's no need. But the petrodollar and the profit are what's at hand here. So if we can help
That's the only
you know,
reason it's still going.
yeah, go on, Lee. If you've been put, by all means, go on.
No, that's the only reason. It's money that we're still using the vehicles that we use. We should all be driving hydrogen cars, just purely on water. I mean, I hear the government said that they want to use batteries. That doesn't make sense to me, using batteries, because obviously it's gonna, a battery like my telephone, as example, is 2 years old. The battery's shocking, and it'll be the same with cars. And how are people that live in high-rise flats or apartments going to charge their car every night? It's impractical to think that we could have battery cars. I'm all for hybrid cars, you know, that'll work, but we should all be using hydrogen. We shouldn't be using diesel or petrol. But the world as it is, it being money-based, we're still using petrol and diesel.
Yeah, I've put in the comments as well about the emissions taxes in London and other cities that they're expanding to. They could get rid of the AdBlue systems, which is recycled pig's urine. Yeah, that's a joke in itself, you know, like Pora's P.I.S.S. and taking the P.I.S.S. I'm aware there may be families watching this, so I'll try to refrain from curse words and swearing. But if you've got, imagine, Lee, if you had a business, Mr. Stobart there will say he's a big industry, you know, international haulier and other such ones. If you're listening or you're affiliated with, ears up. You don't need to buy AdBlue. You don't need to put in an AdBlue system. You can actually burn all the fuel in your, you know, combustion chambers of the engine, add more power, torque, a cleaner burn. We haven't talked about what comes out the exhaust. Put a pin in that and remember the advantages of the exhaust after the combustion. So you can have your AdBlue system there, and imagine you put the hydrogen on demand units on, you burn more fuel, you get a better M.P.G, and your AdBlue never engages, because the detection system of the AdBlue will never detect a high enough amount of particulates parts per million to activate and reduce your you know, lorry's emissions by adding that chemical, you know, processed recycled farm waste from animals. So you could have your AdBlue system, but it would never come on. And should the hydrogen on demand system, the engine accessory, fail and not produce as it should, then you've got your AdBlue to come in, and then you start using your litres of AdBlue to control your exhaust emissions. So I don't know how many litres, in addition to diesel and petrol, these hauliers use with their AdBlue and the taxes on that and so forth and so on, when they could be collecting rainwater from the sky, putting it in a barrel, getting an electrolyte to put in with this technology, getting more M.P.G. Even if they saved, remember your first carbon clean, you that was a good little analogy that you did about mileages and years. Over to you, Lee. Yeah,
so I had a Jeep 2003 Grand Cherokee, big 3-litre diesel. I was doing a lot of journeys at the time, and I was averaging a pitiful 20.2 miles per gallon. So I had a carbon clean, and 3 months later I was doing 24.8 miles to the gallon, which doesn't sound like a great deal, but over the course of the year, we got us calculators out, and doing the journeys I were doing back then, that would have saved me £488. And people say, yeah, right, as if. But then when you divide that by 365 days, I'm saving about £1.18 a day. And given that my car insurance is roughly that amount, it's my car insurance for free. But not only that, my engine's clean, so it's going to last longer. It was quieter, it was smoother. So there's many reasons to have a carbon clean, even if you're not that bothered about the environment, for your own sakes, for miles per gallon, for engine smoothness, for the life of your engine. Because the longer you have your car, the less time in a garage, less taxis, less buses, less hitchhiking of family members. It's just an all-round great thing to do, I think, having a carbon clean.
yeah, the emissions what it clears up. It can
Yeah.
reduce it, and you get steam, water, in fact, oxygen. It's not all of it, but that's why it's reduced. If you burn more energy in the combustion, you have three parts to an engine: an induction, a combustion, and the exhaust. Main parts to an engine. There's more parts, but the three main processes. So on the induction, we've got that mastered with the correct levels of gases, optimum burn. So instead of 60% burn in the chamber, we're achieving up to a 90 to not 100, but more on the 90, high 90s side. I can't be quoted for exact because all engines and fuels and conditions and
Yeah.
sizes are all, you can't. But generally, 90% upwards burn in the chamber, resulting in higher temperatures, higher explosion, less heavy foot needed. Then because you're burning most of the fuel now, instead of 60 up to 90 or even as low as 40, a poorly managed engine can be burning 40% and chucking out 60. Thank you, UK Government Transport Minister Initiative and everybody else, trustees and executives, for telling us this. I don't think so. And here we are, 20,000 toxin related deaths just in the UK alone. And we find out if we had this technology and do it as we're saying, then the burn is up to 90%. Emissions are reduced dramatically. Fuel taxes are less. Engine servicing is less, and emissions are lower. And everybody wins. Everybody wins, except
people
whom?
with asthma.
Except the HMRC with their tax revenue collection. It's the
Mm.
only person that would lose. So you see why when we say the control of the structure is monetary related, when you can definitely say there's 20,000 deaths and all these wasted miles and litres of fuel being wasted, the children going out, the sons and daughters of the realm saying, you adults, you're not running the world properly, and we won't have a world to come to if you don't listen. Well, we've listened to them. Lee's listened to them. We're trying to take action right in the community where it happens. We're not going to transport ministers. We're not going to the offices of, because research and development has had to be established so we can get this information to bring to you before we stand here with nothing. We've been out there. Lee's been out there. You've seen me out there. We have laptops, we have systems, and we're looking to just promote this. We're not looking for extra fresh business or to become millionaires overnight. We just want the technology and the information out there. If you'd like further information, you've got the details for us on our sites, and the technologies have come from a bloke in down south. It does appear that these boxes, I'll do it, Lee, don't worry, I'll do this part, but it does appear these boxes are many and various. There's many and various makes and models and sizes, polishing machines from China, from eBay. Yes, this designer engineer, the man who's contacted me, and I had a chat with and went down with Brother Serge some years ago, is the engineer, and he has the patent on some of the parts, the design, and I've questioned him about the authenticity and the monies wanted, and he's assured me that this is a modified machine, and it's specifically built to last. It can be run. Lee's had a box now, for a time. I've had some, and they've been run daily, if not every other day, in excess of a year. Yours is coming up for a service soon, Lee. It's annual service, and they hold, they work. It's proven. So you may be thinking in the comments there, how much is it? Well, they're quite expensive. You go to the websites and find out. They're not ours. We're just I'm involved in the research, development, and the initial testing, and the ride-on unit on-demand accessory under the engine bay is about 420 fitted, VAT, support and everything like that. The boxes are upwards of £2,000 for your carbon cleans, with warranty, training, support, and all of that, associated with it. So if you want training or further information, I and Lee will get back to you. I'm East Midlands. In Midlands, East Midlands, and Lee's South Yorkshire, Sheffield. So there's two spots for you there. Oh, sorry, yeah, Chesterfield, yeah. So sorry, that's important to get it right.
Yeah.
Dee-dars, doo-dars, and all that business.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Sheffield, but I operate from Chesterfield mainly. But we're going as far as Barnsley that way. And obviously after Chesterfield, I leave that to the Midlands area.
Yeah, well, I've been doing other things, and it's only of late that I've thought I need to push this again and get back into it. You're coming up to having it for a year. I've been in it on and off for 2 years.
Cars at least 80 cars I've done, and it works fine.
Yes, there are risks associated with it. Each engine, each fuel type, each clean, liability. You've got somebody's property there, and you're going to be looking at it and putting it through as a medium amount of stress, and that we do have to check. It's not just a case of one size fits all. It is based on your service, your history, your mileage. If you've got any pre-existing problems, we have to use a laptop to check all of these sensors and belts and that, don't we? It's not just a plug and go exercise. It's a careful assessment, and you want the owner of the, I call them horses for want of a better, but the owner of the automobiles, horses, must understand and agree and consent to it all, and we have a relevant protection for this, but it's not 100% safe. Anybody out there, you must know that you can't just get a box and go off and clean. It's very dangerous. It's a volatile gas. It takes training and understanding, and the customer is priority there, and safety is always paramount. This technology, it's not endorsed by the UK government. It's used in military. It was called Brown's gas. Search YouTube for a Brown's gas video and you will find all about it and its implementation since 1833. They've been on about, certain things, and here we are in 2019. It's a good couple of 100 years after, is it not? So
What we'll say to people about thinking about having a carbon clean done is emissions is always a winner. It always smashes emissions out the ballpark. You're going to be looking at 0.0 something emissions, but results, as far as people say, well, what am I looking at, miles per gallon after a clean, or how much horsepower will it restore? I genuinely can't tell you that, and neither can you, because each car varies, and not only does each car vary, so do the drivers. So, for instance, you might get two exact cars, exact same miles, but with two different drivers. One might have a lot more carbon build up, another might have a lot less. One might spend a lot of time on the motorway burning fuel properly, another one might do city driving, where you're going to get a lot of carbon build up from. So that's what I must state, that results always vary. And the more performance the car, the more likely you are to see a performance upgrade or restored performance. But like a little car or like a diesel 4x4, for instance, you might see better miles per gallon, but they always vary. I wish I could give people an estimate, but there's too many variables, isn't there, Dave?
yeah, there is the driving standards, and how they drive, how heavy the foot is. It does take a certain amount of retraining and understanding of the, if anybody wants any, in addition to this technology, any issues. I've been traveling and in driving realm for a good 15, since 2009, so 10 years, not 15, 10 years. I've been on the roads. I've gone to Europe, Hungary, Bosnia. I've traveled around Greece, motorbikes. I've got experience. I would classify myself as an advanced driver, traveler, and engine knowledge. Lee, you're not so bad. You've had the various units and horses and traveling for so many years, so we've both got knowledge on driving habits, styles, and the way you could utilize and get the most amount out of your, even up to the inflation of tires, servicing, how you service, when you service, and how you go about and how you drive, jumping gears, and things like that. So if you've got anything you'd like to talk to about, I'll say that I've got some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. And with the inclusion of this technology, you're in fact making your vehicle horse a hybrid, because it's not running exclusively on one or the other. It's running in, it's got a catalyst in the fuel. It's equivalent of adding Red X or something to the tank. These chemical formulations that said additives, fuel additives, put these in and you'll receive these bonuses. It will clean injectors, and so forth, which it may do, it may not. I'm not sure, but this is another way round. It's using water, and when I first heard of it, I was like, this cannot be for real. You cannot get water to ignite. But I'll just say this, just to show you the research that I've immersed myself into. The academic industry, school doctoring at present, has 3 states for gases, solids, and matter, and that is that there is a solid, like we'll use water, and that would be the ice. Then there is the liquid, which is the ice warmed up a bit, and then there is the boiling temperature of the liquid, which would produce the gas. But then there is another level, the plasma level, thanks to the research that we've done recently, and that plasma level is a fourth state of where, you know, we can be looking at the technologies and the gases. We haven't been told the true states, the realm, when we've gone into quantum and different technologies there, they are, you know, relevant, and with magnets and so forth. We haven't finished. You know, you can start using water and fuel inline. There's a lot more technology here. This is just a simple cusp that we've looked at that works. So what you've been taught, okay, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, is not quite true, accurate and correct, and we can prove that. And yes, it is true, much like, you know, getting a piece of ice and making a curvature out of it and starting a fire with ice. That's also possible. This liquid state, water, you know, H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atoms, and the the molecular readout structure of it means that if you put in an electrolyte with a small amount of a current, electricity current, then we release and stimulate the water through electrolysis and the chemical to release those gases. Like I say, there is 2 products here and two different services. There is one where you have the clean if you had an M.O.T failure, or if you had bad M.P.G. When you're changing gear, you're getting black clouds coming out the back, you know, indicative problems of blockages or dirty units that need to be cleaned. Then we would initiate the 60 to 90-minute engine clean after an assessment. If you was to look at wanting to improve again, and you do a high amount of mileage, and you want to reduce your carbon footprint and lower the higher the M.P.G, lower the emissions, then you would have a ride-on unit on demand that we have here, patented technology. And there are others around, just any one, but the one that we have, I can talk about, and I've had use over a year on it. And we went to Hungary from England. And it was Midlands to the ferry, and it was ending up at Dunkirk, off at Dunkirk, through Belgium, France, Germany, Austria, and into Hungary. 27 hours, 1,570 miles, and 2.5 tanks of diesel used. It's 60 litres a tank, so about 150 litres of fuel, 1,500 miles in 27 hours with a 2-hour ferry ride across the channel. I'm quite impressed with that, and the emissions testing on it for mine, 186,000, 1.9 diesel TDI Volkswagen, and it got tested with that 186 on the clock with the 0.22 pass. You said it was 0.8, Lee. That's generally an average for different fuels, different engine types, years and so forth. Euro engines that are out now, I believe, are up to Euro 7, Euro 8 maybe. So you should take all these things into account. There's a lot of older units and older engines out there as well that can still be exemplified from taxes and taxation due to emissions if you have the ride-on unit. So if it was to have a ride-on demand unit, you'd have the engine clean given by me for free, and then the unit, that's the agreement I have with the the designer, the inventor. I as his agent to promote his product and technology. So going forward this year, I'm keen to push solar and hydrogen. We can cut with it, we can burn with it, we can weld with it on this big box, and the little box is, like I say, on your engine as an accessory. I am law master, master of law in my own realm and right. I'm not the most knowledgeable on the planet, but in my own realm and right, we've got the description and the specifications and what it is, and the safety and the liability more than locked down and sorted. So I would like to work in conjunction, in partnership, in collaboration, a coalition with the government. I'm sure you wouldn't mind, Lee, expanding and cleaning up the country, the engines. Yeah, we're not saying that it should be us, but if there's anybody else out there, imagine getting contracts and saying, all right, then we'll sort out all of the buses and all of the taxes. We can lower the prices. We can set up, everything, that we need to. And we could work using international grants, and we can fund this out. We can listen to the sons and daughters across the realm, acknowledge that there is a problem, say we can help now. They've had enough money, they've had enough taxes, things are running out. There's a lot of concern here. So if we've got to give you the options. If you don't know of them, then you're never going to choose them, are you? If they're secret.
It's like I've said to people, look, if you don't have a carbon clean with me, please have one with someone else, you know, because you're going to think I'm selling it because it's my business. Just have one with someone else, because what it does to emissions is just absolutely fantastic. And the more people that have it done, the better it is for everybody. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much it lowers it. What I'm going to do tomorrow, David, I'm doing a Z4 BMW, and I'm taking that one down to the emissions centre, and I'm going to video all this. So we're going to do emissions before, then I'm going to do a carbon clean, show people how I do a clean, and then I'm going to take it back to emissions, and then I'm going to put that video on my Facebook page so people can see for themselves the difference in emissions. And I'm taking it to a proper V.O.S.A sponsored M.O.T place.
Yeah, they have to be. Yeah, that's standard practice for the emissions testing there. So yeah, substance
I
over
want
the
people to see the results, because people don't believe it. You hear about it and you think, yeah, whatever. But when you see the results, it's just ridiculous how much it lowers emissions by.
Yeah, the government know of this. The army know of this. It's used in the navy, so to speak. The guy that makes this, the inventor down south, Jason, Eco.Motus, for everybody that wants to know. It's ecomotus.co.uk. Designer's called Jason. There are mixed reviews and reports about him. You make up your own mind and so forth, you know. But they've known and used this for many a year. Compression of engine gas pressures and getting a better burn. Imagine how many litres, thousands and billions of litres even, that the military have used since since fuel was invented. Every day they have boats and aeroplanes and military cargo carriers. It's a big business, you see, a big guaranteed income and revenue and tax and expenditure and import and export. And now I'm getting political again now, but we can see that right now it's raining. You can be collecting what falls from the sky. You can drink it to live. You can use it to put on organic matter to produce vegetables. And now in I'll say the 2000s, it's been around since it's 1900s. We can drop names of inventors and so forth, but YouTube, you know who they are. We won't bother you with that. And the new ones to this game will soon pick up on it and find it in your own course there. So it's a real fact and it's evidential. It's weird science to some extent, and it's got a benefit for everybody. If we are in austerity and we are in trouble, you'll be pleased to know that there's a Shell garage. As far as I know, I did find the report and include it on various places. I think in Hydrogen Doctor on Facebook, there's a garage, a Shell one. As far as I believe, I'm getting this right, it's from memory, and they have got a hydrogen on-demand unit round the corner. So like LPG systems, dual fuel hybrids that are out there, electronic gas and diesel, petrol, gas, whichever, you've now got solar and you've also got hydrogen. So we've got 4 fuels as well as a battery. But the batteries, they come from countries that have precious minerals, and often they are the subject of foreign war policy, such as batteries for phones, batteries for cars, lithium, rare minerals. We are again using, you see, the wrong technologies. We're working against nature. We're taking from her things that we might not need to take when we have in abundance falling from the sky. Pure power. And when it burns, Lee, it burns and it supposedly gives back water. So for those concerned, the fuel, if you had exclusively just hydrogen and oxygen systems, or a hydroxy gas, when that hydroxy gas burns and the flame has finished burning, whatever, it returns to steam. So there is zero pollutants coming from that burn. So again, in your home, winter, old age, pensioners not being able to heat the flats, and all these taxes and things and bills that we get, and debt and credit and bailiffs and fiscal, financial, magistrate custodial sentences in the worst case. You could cut all that out, and the pollution and the bills, just by burning water. It seems ludicrous, but like Occam's razor, the simplest path is often the best. Yes. And we've oversimplified it, I think, and the corporations have. We've trusted in them, and they've taken us literally. Sorry for the pun. We've been taken for a ride, and we're getting off the ride, and letting you know.
Hydrogen cars are taking off big time in South Korea and Australia, because obviously they're using solar panels to create the hydrogen. And it's the way forward. Like I've said, this country said they want to be on battery power by what, 2040, I think, or 2030. And it's just, I'm all for hybrid cars, but I just can't see battery cars working for simple facts like to charge your car, it's going to take 20, 30 minutes. If you're going to charge it from home and you live in flats, how are you supposed to charge your car? But as the batteries get older, they're less efficient. You know, if there's an accident on the M1, cars are going to run out of batteries. You're going to have like 20 cars having to be pulled off. The way forward is hydrogen all day, every day. But for some reason, this government don't seem interested in. Well, we know why, but they're not interested in pushing batteries because they know me and you can't make a lithium battery, but we can make our own hydrogen, and that's where the problem is. That's why we're not going to hydrogen.
Yeah,
but
we have.
Hopefully, we will.
We have, yeah, I'd like that. You've, yeah, like sometimes when there's major sporting events that are on, if it's about 8 p.m. and half of the land mass would like to make a cup of tea just by the fact all the kettles are turned on simultaneously for 10 minutes during them advert breaks, it puts a strain on the national grid. Again, the national grid using nuclear fuel, we're not going to touch upon that, but we've got you know, ideas for fuel generation on a mass scale that aren't nuclear. And yeah, if everybody came home between say 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. on average, and we've got what, how many million on these electric vehicles, say the government did a scheme and they gave everybody one, you know, and we didn't have to pay for them, you know, and they were subsidized through our various means and the grants and so forth, and we all got one, and we just stopped burning fuel overnight, literally, as a major landmass decision, it backed up and, you know, worked with in partnership, in hand, in coalition with the government, and then we all went to turn them on. We haven't at present got the structure to do that fast, and yes, it is a monetary thing. It does involve you having to go out and swap to get to new design, new systems you're not familiar with. Yeah, it isn't as practical as it seems to be. It is still raping the earth, sorry to use that word, of its precious resources when we in fact don't need to. They're creating commerce, they're creating things, a bit like the vehicle when you want to get it serviced and you need a special tool that's a dealer tool only. But long gone are the days where you could take it to John round the corner. So now then, John, give us a service, change the brakes, adjust the handbrake and reset blah blah blah, change that gasket. He can't do it because he needs all the tools, and the tools are specialized and they have to go to the dealership and you have to pay them prices, and it's all funneled. It's not open source, you see. When me and Lee, and I think the scribes here and a few of you are more open source, and we don't need to rely upon others and systems and corporations and charges and levies and fees and import, export, all of that. Alongside the earth is the most important. Mine and your bloodline is the second most important. Not profits, not shareholders, not dividends, not stocks, not SpaceX, not anything like that. You demand it, it will be given. You know, if we boycott certain avenues and technological pathways, you know, they won't flourish. But if we don't know there's an alternative, then they will flourish, and we will continue to steal the future from our, you know, lineage, like they are stealing our equity. It's all wrong and backwards. So today is just here to prove, you know, what we could potentially swap to and what the alternatives and the availabilities are.
And at the minute, we can just offer a clean, which is a real shame, really. I mean, it's good to have your car clean, but the fact that this is all we can offer at this moment in time, I find it quite sad, to be honest with you.
1833, Matthew and I was chatting about the other day when we was with G Stuff, and, you know, helped us build the tech. We were saying 1833, you know, we had got the 1882 bills of exchange, the 1911 perjury act. We've gone through history, and yes, you're right, it's embarrassing that what I think the general mood here is we as a civilization, if you can call us that, as a social construct, have had our technology retarded. You've got auto Sergey, we can go auto when it comes to commerce and streamlining that. You can have Amazon outroll Kiva systems and these things, the fourth industrial revolution and blockchain and Bitcoin. It's all commerce. Look, all the commerce can thrive on it. And when it comes to us and it comes to man and the earth and the environment and the animals and our well-being, then we got to pay. We got to pay for everything. You can't live off the grid. You can't feed the homeless. You can't burn water. Well, who are you to tell us that? Because I will speak for myself here. I've got a contract, a covenant with the Most High, and I've got a mission on this planet, and I've realized what it is. It isn't to DJ, it isn't to entertain, it isn't to become a millionaire. It's just to get numbers and figures and facts out there like a lot of you are doing. And I just want to say at this point, thank you for the efforts. Thank you for, you know, having the faith, for sharing, for commenting, for researching, for all of the input, because you know, we have a voice and we have a brain, and we appoint government to run things how we want it. We don't appoint them to tell us what to do. So we have the technology now to appoint them, instruct them, and compel them on national levels, on ministerial levels, on judicial levels, on international levels, on all levels. We are now not fighting, not burning, not smashing. We're not thinking about a yellow vest, not right now. That might be plan Z, whatever, you know. But so we have these steps, and we have peace and love. We have, as daft as it sounds, we're not tree hugging, weed smoking hippies here, but we have love. That's what it takes. You know, we're not having the fear anymore, and we have the right. You have the rights to a clean, safe environment. And if we employ government that are paid thousands of pounds plus expenses, plus houses, plus cars, plus everything else that they get, 60, 80 grand a year, and they can't do what we asked them to do, then I'm afraid it's time for me, Lee, the YouTube scribes, and anybody else to stand up, say, actually, just forget that. We've got this. And when they say no, we say, well, you don't really have a choice, because we elected you, we put you there, you work for us, and if this isn't the way, then I'm afraid, you know, then we're going to have to change that. And that would come through the instruments and the you know, non-argumentative ways, non-violent ways, but an intelligent, peaceful, loving approach with good intent for the right reasons will outweigh all of this. You know, there's some out there say, well, evil is more powerful than good. No, they are both the same. We live in a duality, and it just, you know, it's just a thought process that needs to occur. Two main emotions, love and hate, love and fear. Master Yoda, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to the dark side. So we're breaking all of these chains. We're being brave a little bit to some extent. You are, Lee, and thank you for that, you know, for what you're doing and how you've been and what you've brought. And I can take care of the majority of it, as you've seen, and we can outline and put this into communities, like we've said with the community CAFs, when we come with the law and the trust technology and the DWP, the PIP, the ESA. We'll bring this as well. We'll bring the food. We'll bring everything. We're a one, you know, trick pony here, for want of a better word, and we have the evidences, and we have all of you lot, and we have our future. So I believe this is what meant to be, you know, Lee, and it comes from the sky. The world is 80% water, and you know, it's got to be the way forward. There can be no hiding of this, you know, much like other subjects which get put down. This one, I think, I don't think it will rest when the white van men find out these kind of technologies exist.
Well, as far as the environment goes, let's be honest, it's 1 minute to midnight, isn't it? It really is 1 minute to midnight, you know, and we've got to act now and fast. And I think, to be honest, I think it's too late already. I don't know what your opinion is on that.
I heard that Elon Musk, or whatever, I can't remember the nickname that somebody on Tube came out with him now. It was brilliant, but I'm sorry, I can't recall that. Launching so many satellites into space to control the weather. Bill Gates being involved in a weather control modulation process via injecting stuff in an atomic level into the atmosphere. You know, we are at 1 minute to midnight. Yes, on many levels. Degrees of the realm heating up, global warming, geoengineering. It's all relevant and scary, but I think they're doing that sometimes to scare the middle class and you know, the elite. They try to model the market and force stuff via false information, not 100%. So like I say, man doesn't know what choices he has. He doesn't know whom he is or what language he speaks, let alone what sciences are available and to hand. And somewhat, yeah, I am not qualified to speak. I am not licensed. I have not been to university. I've been in the the education of life. I've had 40 years in the wilderness. Lee, I'm not speaking for you here, but we're clever and we're honourable, and this. It doesn't take a genius. The solar panel doesn't take geniuses to work it out. It's simple. Like the Occam's razor, the simplest path is often the best. With law, you see how they've overcomplicated public law, civil, statutory acts, contract. If I gave 1,000 men the Road Traffic Management Act and then asked 1,000 men what they thought of that and to interpret it, I'd get 1,000 different interpretations. But with this, there is one pathway, one structure, one formula. It cannot be mixed up. It's simple. Anybody could follow it, even our Yanker at the age of 12, and they could build and make this. It's child's play, and it's embarrassing to say how far behind we are. So-called third world countries are in front of us, with these technologies. And you said, where was it, Korea or somewhere, Lee?
Korea are putting a lot of money into hydrogen cars. They're getting like petrol stations that are purely for hydrogen, and that's the thing, you see, because they want batteries. It takes a long time to charge a battery. 20 minutes at a petrol station to charge, at a station to charge your battery is too long for most people. Whereas to put hydrogen in your car, it's exactly the same as putting fuel in your car. It's about between 2 to 5 minute process. Pay for it and then you're gone.
Yes, and there is a film with in the thread now. There's safety concerns, like they do the programming with Hollywood, and they let you know what their opinion is. The land of Hollywood. It's got Keanu Reeves in it, and it may be Denzel Washington or Morgan Freeman. I forget. It's been a while. 1997, and the title of the blockbuster, Bust Your Block, is something like Chain Reaction. Now, in that film, they portray hydrogen technology. It's a really good film, actually. I'm not sure about the messaging with it because there's a massive explosion of hydrogen technologies. There's secret government shadow operations. So if you haven't seen the film, Lee, Chain Reaction, 97, it's Keanu Reeves and one of our darker skinned brothers, which I can't, I'm sure it's someone, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, or someone. One of the scribes will tell us on the chat. No, it's not him. He's
but anyway, a bit off track.
Excellent
actors. But that's the trouble with hydrogen, though, if we're honest. It is a bit volatile. And that's the bit they're working on at the minute, transporting it. I think they're using ammonia at the minute to transport it.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about that. I can't converge anymore on it, I'm afraid, but I did see an article where they're using ammonium to transport hydrogen safely.
That's news to me. That is news to me. Let me look at Chain Reaction. If it's
this was in Australia, where they're using ammonium to transport the hydrogen, because that is the problem. Hydrogen is clean and everything else, but it is very, very volatile. As I always say when I'm doing a carbon clean, do not smoke round me.
Oh, yes. That's the health and safety part of it, indeed.
Yeah, do not smoke round me. And if it's a hot day, I look for shade.
Guess what? Found him. I was right. Morgan Freeman, Keanu Reeves, 1996. Not 1997. Yeah, it's on the internet there. So if you haven't seen it, yeah, I'd recommend. But it's the theme on that is why I got into actors, Lee, is that it's a Hollywood production involving the element hydrogen. It's not a chemical because they're already existent. They're not made by man. It's an element on the periodic table of elements, and they're basically just programming in that it's dangerous. A bit like AI. AI is not dangerous. Terminator and so forth that you've seen. The films they put out there. Oh, AI is bad. No, it's not bad. It's only as bad as what the programmer puts in it. So gases are only as bad. We've got nuclear fission fusion going off, and the ways that the submarines use those fuels, they get decommissioned. What happens to that fuel, that nuclear fuel? There's a lot of scary things in the realm in existence now that we don't get to, we're not privy to see, that the government manage on our behalf, and these can all be put down. Nuclear programs can finish in our mind, and world peace can ensue. And once we work out, how to do that, that's not on me, by the way, but technologies and communities, resources, learning to manage ourselves would do that. Yes, be a good start.
Hydrogen is the way forward, but for some reason governments don't want us to.
I'm looking at the comments now. We're busy. We've got 16 watching. We've had 13 likes, so thank you for that. I'm going to see if there's anything that stands out, or if there's
I'll tell you what you could do for me, David, in your own words, and it'd be nice to hear you say, what causes carbon build-up in a car? Why do cars create carbon?
Wow. Wear and tear, the dirty fuel, depending on the fuel type. So it's deposits in the fuel grades of fuel, minerals. Wow, you've put me on the spot, but okay, minerals, types of oil used. There was a Magnatech oil brought out some years ago to take all the particulates there. On your sump with your oil, you can put a strong magnet, which will then collect so I'm not telling you to, but in principle, man can put big strong magnets on oil sumps that will collect things, and it's components, speed, gears meeting, temperatures, expansion, contraction. There's loads there, mate. Honestly, over time, not servicing correctly, running it, in a heavy way, and not taking care, selling it before giving it a service, which most folk can't really afford to put fuel in these days. Hence the biodiesels that was thought of, and the ethanol addition there. So running that, imagine having a biodiesel and putting ethanol mixtures in and running that, then you definitely need a carbon clean. So
most cars create carbon when they're doing less than 2,000 RPM. A lot of cars create carbon. So if you're in traffic, you're creating carbon. Stopping at a junction, you're creating carbon. Stopping at lights, etc. Basically, you create a lot more carbon when you're doing city driving.
Yeah.
So when you're driving in the city, because it's stop, start, that's when you're creating most of your carbon. That's a lot of your carbon build-up. Changing your oil, people should change their oil every 5,000 miles. Very few people change their oil in their lifetime they have the car. A lot of people have a car 3 years, not changed the oil once. And that creates carbon, like you said. And like I said, but the main one is low revs. Being stuck in traffic, you're not burning fuel at a high enough temperature.
Well, as we said earlier,
most journeys are 20 minutes or less. They're not really getting going. The engine's not really getting hot enough. You're not burning the fuel correctly. Therefore, you're creating a lot of carbon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's true. All relevant and true. Yes. As we said earlier, with the driving techniques we could give out, that's exactly what we're on about when we say there's driving techniques and habits that we've picked up through our experience, research, development here, and through our own private traveling, and DPF. Health of your DPF. If you're a minicab driver and so forth, and you've got, or even if you're just doing your own commercial private trade and you've got a DPF on your diesel engine, there are certain things that temperatures and periodic times that you need to open up the engine and get it up to temperature for at least half an hour to clear through the soot and the ash. Because if you don't, and you do these little runs, you will find that these DPFs can be in upwards of £800, 600, a lot. They contain a lot of precious metals. And again, we can remove the need for DPFs if you are burning and controlling the fuel in the engine, in the combustion, reducing the emissions. So again, if you have this technology in clean, there's another part of that's the breathing part, that's your lungs, the DPF, the filters, the cat on your petrol, they're your lungs. So we keep, much like the body, we keep the system flowing, the ebb and flow. We're still babbling on. I know who that is. Good to see somebody that hasn't been around for a while with the blue spanner there, just duck it, easy now. Engine carbon is natural fuel deposits. Yes, it is. The way that it is, it's not a clever invention. It's not optimum. And the DPF and your engine for deposits can be improved, altering your driving technique. So you may think going for an unnecessary burn for half an hour is uneconomical, but going for a burn for half an hour, if you don't do it, will lead to systemic problems. Like if you just do short runs, like if you only ever use your engine, your horsey for taking to and from school or somewhere, appointments, family, and you did half-hour runs, within a year you would be suffering effects of
Probably
that.
less than that, David. A DPF is a brilliant invention, and it's a nice way of burning all this extra carbon, and it burns it off at no effect to the atmosphere. The trouble is, for them to work properly, they have to get up to 600 Celsius. Now, for your cars to get up, for it to get to 600 Celsius, you've got to be in the car for at least half an hour, but not just half an hour. You've got to be on a highway or a motorway, and then it'll get hot enough. That's the trouble with I have a lot of customers who come to me with DPF problems because they've got a diesel, but they only do city driving. So the DPF can never get hot enough to burn away all this excessive carbon that it collects. And because it can't do that, they get blocked. And once they get blocked, your car can go into limp mode. Once your car's in limp mode, I can't do anything by that stage. By that stage, I can't do anything. It probably has to be removed and replaced, and they cost anywhere between £500 to £2,500 for a new DPF filter.
It's a lot. Sorry, just
As
thinking
good as they are, they're no good for city driving. If you're on the motorway, if you travel to and from different cities for a job, get a diesel. If you drive around in the city, be very careful, because you could end up with a blocked DPF in no time at all.
I've seen that you're in the chat room. Yes, agreed. I'm just scanning the chat room, Lee John. I've seen that you're in there. So if anybody wants to get and subscribe to your channel, Lee John, who's got a green icon, about halfway up the chat, I've seen that you've put a smiley face. So yeah, I'm just skimming the chat room there whilst listening to you to see there's a lot of interesting comments and interaction there. Engine types, technology, cars, cyclists, self-realization. To all of the fam, I'm not going to go through all of the names. Thank you. There's been an amazing amount of interaction, and some of the usual suspects are in the house. I appreciate that at this time there's a great many of the family chained in servitude, and they'll pick this up on the replay. For those on the replay and for those present, bosh, I've one of them. This is goodly. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot, and I think this year we will open up avenues of at least information. Your website, your Facebook, they're in the comments, mine are there. Please share this video. Anybody that's got family that have got high mileage, indicative problems, M.O.T failures, who wants to find out more or open up community, projects there, then myself and Lee could look at that. We could look at, if you want to help sponsor us and help us move up, sponsorship, it's a boat, I know, equivalent, endorse, things like that in a private capacity. We're open for that. Talking investment, there's a lot that can be done here. Eventually we'll have to notify the government, ministerial and so forth, that what's happening. We're not begging, we're not submitting, we would be notifying of, and you would have all the relevant lawful protection required for that. Don't worry, you are not criminals for trying to clean up the act, save 20,000 deaths a year, save your own fiscal, financial, sweat equity being stolen. There are many argumentations here. In law is here, remember, legal is here. This is killing us, this will save us. So I believe there is a message translated. Talk to me about synchronicity and times and coincidences. This is the way forward in our eyes for power and reduction of pollutions, saving of 20,000 deaths, all of the financial implications. We can go AI, and I'd be quite humbled to see an AI propelled iron horse that's solar powered battery powered and hydrogen powered. You know, we could have all three. We can have the solar, you can have the backup battery. They don't have to be these expensive grade ones from you know, third world countries that we have to invade and bomb for foreign war policy, to free them to go in and get their minerals, you know, once we've depleted the area and pushed them out into Babylon. It's you know, it's not our problem to do that, but what I'm telling you is that these technologies and the way that they do it is very contrived. It's not in our best interest. We're all about being the beneficiary of things, and our bloodline and our offspring are ultimately the beneficiary. You can benefit by saving on tax, by your health, and by making peace, you know, getting closer to the source code of things, and we work in line with nature. Nature will give back to us. Crumbling ice walls, flooding sea levels, plastic in the sea, everything we're doing, this is the moment. So I just want to say thank you to all the scribes, all of the ones sharing, caring. Thank you to you, Lee. We're going to wrap up soon, if that's all right. And
yeah, any questions off anyone for me?
Let's see. Any questions? Go. Open questions. I'll let you as of now. Astro Thief, hello. Super Lead, Lux, Fly on the Wall, Alan. That looks like just FC UK IT. Easy now. I'm looking for questions, Lee, as well while we're here.
What do I think of Redex? I think it's okay. I use it myself, but I don't use it every time I fill up. That's more to do with cleaning your fuel. It will give you a nicer fuel, so you will get a better burn. So it helps like that. But what Carbon Clean does, that cleans where the air goes, where the airflow goes. So they're different. But I do use Redex, but I wouldn't use it every single time I fill up. I might use it once every 2 months. And this is just me talking. I put the full bottle in a full tank. They advise you to put half. So I have a more richer one about once every month rather than every single time. Because if you use it every time, it becomes more expensive, and you probably spend more than what you save by giving you that more miles per gallon. But it does help you burn fuel a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, it's a chemical based additive. I won't speak for the company or the brand, but there are many and various tens, if not hundreds, of chemical fuel additives out there, and they contain chemicals inside your engine. You've got gaskets, you've got metal, you've got plastics, you've got various compounds, various bits of integrated high component running at massive speeds, you know, and these chemicals, they're great and they do the job, like the radiator blockers and the tire cans that infill. They've all got negatives, and the negatives are a bit like if you ever put fuel wrong in an engine, you know, that will massively mash it up. If you put petrol in a diesel engine, you can sometimes get away with it if you put more diesel in again, if you realise. But those chemicals, the fuel pump doesn't like the petrol, and it will strip that petrol in that diesel. It will strip, and the Red X in the petrol and the Red X in the diesel. When I say Red X, I mean there are other brands available. I'm not condemning you, Red X. I'd take no liability, but adding chemicals to fuel such as Red X and other brands will damage the inside. Adding nature's elements, which it's sucking in from the air intake, won't damage that as long as it's done in a controlled and managed way. So yeah, interesting. Again, I'm not sure what the substances are made of, like the red formula fuels and what they give out. The
reason why I use it, David, is because after a while your fuel tank will form a sludge at the bottom of the tank, and I use it to keep that sludge away, because I've had it on a previous car many years ago now. I don't like to tell people my age, but I had a car that kept just stopping, the engine kept dying, and it was this sludge at the bottom of the petrol tank kept blocking the fuel from coming through. So Red X was the key to that. It dissolves all the sludge at the bottom of your tank. So that's the only reason I use it. But I know people, I used to work at a petrol station and they buy it religiously. And I don't think it works buying it on a weekly basis for every. I think you'll end up spending more to what you save if you fill it up every single time you fill your car up, because you're buying that on top of your fuel, and fuel's expensive enough.
Yeah, every £10 allegedly £7 is going to the treasury for tax. So that's just a rough there, but you can check that out. And walnut shells being used to clean engines. You see, they've said that there. We've got Everything returns back to carbon, doesn't it? Yes, it does. I see we've got the local one obligatory thumbs down, I dare say, from Brother John there. Nuclear, nothing, haha, nonsense. Thank you, John. As always, Eltel, hello.
Alan Richards had a lucky escape. Alan Richards. Alan Richards, he had a lucky escape. His car went into limp mode. And after 20 minutes, he finally got the speed back up, and it did clear it. A lucky escape there. If anyone does have DPF trouble going into limp mode, me and David use the same software, and not on every car. It depends what software comes with the car. Sometimes me and you can force the regen with the software that we have on a DPF.
Yeah, DPF. Yeah, DPF force regen. Yeah,
not on every vehicle though. It only depends what programs are actually on the car.
Elon Musk, what did I see there? Lone scum, an anagram. Elon, lone, and Musk, scum. Thank you, Super Lead. Oh, wow. Interesting. We're getting thank you from the room and the scribe, so they're enjoying it. Halliburton have the patent on hydro cars, and being a major oil extraction company, they will not be willing to see hydro cars. That's one version. You can make many different types of engines and versions here, so that will be one type. They haven't got the exclusive. You can't copyright. Let me think now. What is it? You can't copyright a physical reaction. You can't copyright and take a hydrogen explosion. That's no. We've got the right to do that, but their exact design will be patented. No problem. We'll make a different one. That's how you get around that.
Yeah.
What's something else? Aquatune. Eltel baby, I've heard of Aquatune. I looked at them in the beginning, I looked at their aluminium, specifically machine-made, high-grade parts. It looked very interesting. I did email them, and they asked me for several thousands of pounds to set up a UK-based distribution company for Aquatune. And I said, I'll think about it. As soon as they asked for tens of thousands, and licensing, all of the gear sending over, having the stock, being a distributor, licensed and registered with Aquatune, I said, I'll think about it, and I never actually got back to them because of the money outlay. So this is nothing in the way of that, outlay. So yeah, Aquatune, there are many out there like that. Anyone heard of Aquatune? Yes, fly on the wall. Is it better than a walnut clean? I don't know, because I've never had a walnut wash. Is it, Lee? What would you say?
A walnut clean does less areas because he's blasting it with walnuts, so he's blasting the carbon away. So then you're asking the mechanic to take parts off and clean it with walnuts, or maybe, to be able to get to these specific areas. Our carbon cleaning, our gas, goes wherever the air goes. From the moment we put it in your car at the front of the engine, all the way to the exhaust, our gas will clean that area. A walnut clean is someone with a gun blasting walnuts to blast away the carbon. So he has to get in your engine, take parts off, and then clean it. I mean, it's good, but it doesn't do the amount of parts that ours does, because ours is a gas that follows the natural flow of air in your engine. So we clean a lot more, but I'm not dissing a walnut cleaning. I've seen it. It looks interesting, and it's a good way of getting rid of carbon. But like I say, you need a fully qualified mechanic to take certain parts, and I dare say it costs a fair bit more, because I don't touch any parts. All I do is insert a tube into your air intake, and then I do a selective amount of revs over a certain amount of time, and that's it. We're done. Easy as that.
Yeah, particulates being bombarded and fire. It's like shot blasting or sandblasting.
Yeah.
I've never had an engine walnut clean, so you can imagine the principality of blasting. But the particulates have got a directional flow, and they will be bombarded and go where they're pointed, and they will have an amount of bounce. But gases, you are utilising the fire, and whilst the engine is in motion, actually in operation. So everything's moving, you know, like a walnut, like clean. It's not in operation. There's no combustion, induction, exhaust, and it's not moving itself. So with the rotation, with the crank and the camshaft, the fuel, the induction, the exhaust, the combustion, you're getting the maximum opening and cleaning of the piston, the rings, where the, you know, the EGR with the recirculation, and onboard engine management, live readings, to some extent live. Could do with a gas machine, to be fair. We could do with a bit of a, you know, a USB input where we can just stick a wand in and go, diddle, software up, here we go, it's reading. We're not that far away. I'm sure we could find one, Lee. And
well, that's what I'm doing tomorrow, actually, by going to that M.O.T test centre. I'm not doing it live, obviously, but, you know, we're going to see what, it's my nephew's car, he's got a Z4, we're going to see what the emissions are before, and then we're going to see what the emissions are after. But I know it's not live, but that's about as good as we can get for now.
I'm back to the screen. Eltel Baby describe here says he's working on a mobility scooter without charging it, apart from the start at John O'Groats and then to Land's Ends. He won't be travelling during the rain because birds don't fly during the rain.
Eltel Baby, I wish I was no more than 30. I'm a lot older than 30.
Just looking at my, all right, no comment. Just looking at my 54 energy class course at M.O.T, and it reads 0.01, and it's only done 34,900 genuine miles on clock. I call her the Duchess. Well, look at that. I'd be in 54 plate, yeah, 0.01 and 35,000.
That's lovely. That what I will say to people as well, if you are lucky enough to own a car that's got less than 10,000 miles, you won't need a carbon clean. You know, after 10,000 miles onwards, then that's when you start to want or need a carbon clean, really, if you want to keep your car efficient and if you want to keep your car out the garage. My own claim is if you spend X amount of money with me, well, I charge £60 for an hour and a half. So if it's never been done before, I have a £60 hour and a half clean. And my claim is if you had that clean with me over the course of the year, you'll save at least £250 on fuel and parts. And I think that's a very low claim, that, because I've got a good friend of mine. He's a parcel delivery man. He's all over the country, and I've given him a carbon clean, and his Mercedes van is now doing 8 more miles to the gallon, and that's going to save him over 2,800 over the course of the year.
The numbers, we like the numbers. They're the ones that talk. Yes.
He's on the road constantly, so it's going to be more for him. But like I said, when I did my Jeep, that were going to save me £400 over the course of the year. It's well worth having done.
Super Leads. I got a question from Super Leads. Indeed, does it help work on turbocharged vehicles? Well, the 1.9 TDI Volkswagen is a turbo engine, so I have the on-demand and the engine clean. Lee will have done cleans on turbocharged engines, Jeeps and BMWs and so forth. So they are.
That's one big myth I'd like to dispel. A lot of people seem to think, David, that you can only have this done on diesel vehicles. I've had people say I'd have it done, but I've got a petrol car. No, you can do it on any diesel or petrol. You can have this done on, and it works wonders on both. I mean, I've got a BMW petrol. I've done mine, and I must admit, I'll tell the truth, I'm not doing much more miles to the gallon at all, but the sound of the engine sounds fantastic, and I've had this car 5 years, and it's never sounded as good as it does now.
Eltel, check out all my comments and I'll speak in SPLs. I'll check that later, whatever that means. No problem. Thank you. Hello to Hogarth's. Mine, when it's not in the garage, that will off chips. Thumbs down wasn't from me. Oh, no, it's all right. It's from the local troll that I have. Let's have a look. Any more questions or comments, Lee?
Thank you. I do look a lot younger, I must admit. It's a family secret. I wish I could tell you my secret, but I'd have to kill you.
Oh well, yeah, and you've got, you know, I'm not here to promote your private problems, but you're not 100% able-bodied, and you've done well. You know, you're out there. You're not. He's an
Well,
example. He
no,
deserves extra credit.
I have
You crack
cerebral
on.
palsy.
Yeah, well, go on then. Off you go, brother. Yeah.
That's it. I've got a cerebral palsy. There's no more to say about it. You do
You
what you
ma
do. You do what
yeah,
you can do, and then you try and do what you can't do.
yeah, so that's why we love you. You fight against the odds there, and you know, you do well with it. So if anyone goes out to meet you, then yeah, he's not been drinking when he approaches you. You know, he just normally
Is
walks
what I
like
want you to think.
that. Bless. Let's get there. Yeah. So you're doing exceptionally well getting out there. Not that you shouldn't do. I'm just saying there's others out there that aren't as fortunate to do that. And we've got able-bodied family members crying and moaning and portioning the blame everywhere. And we just
No,
get up
don't
and
get
do
me
it, don't we, Lee?
started, David.
I know, yeah, it's just a credit to you, a big up to you. But yeah, you do look well for your age. That's what the lady says. Yeah, I've just seen that. You're not making it up.
No.
Bless to all. Anything else you want to say then before we wrap up? We've covered more than enough. We've been going a while,
No,
Lee.
like I said, everyone should have it done for the sake of the environment. It always lowers emissions, but I can't guarantee you'll do more miles per gallon. I can't guarantee performance, although I will mention I did a BMW, the V8 one, M3, and that went on a not diagnostics, on the rolling road. And just by cleaning it, it restored nearly 20 brake horsepower. Just by giving it a 1.5 hour clean, restored 20 brake horsepower. Now, I must admit, this is a very high performance car, but the people we bought the
Yeah.
box off, I do believe they do a Citroen van that's 5 years old and that restores 4 brake horsepower. So I think for £60, restoring 20 brake horsepower and lowering emissions, it's worth every penny, really.
It's a no-brainer. Sometimes, yeah.
It is an
It's just we got to
no-brainer.
dispel the myths.
Yeah,
Got
that's
to
it. A lot
dispel
of
the
people
myths.
think
There's a
it's
lot of
diesel only, or how can a gas do all this? How can a gas do all that? But a lot of my customers are customers from customers. They'll say, my friend had it done and he's raving about how good his car is. So they come to me, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say 40% of my customers are from other customers' recommendations.
yeah. Well, we recommend that we all look into it on behalf of all the animals in the sea, on the realm, in the air, and our unborn, you know, lineage, families, offsprings to come. They are, you know, going to be eternally grateful for the fact we can go to zero emission for transportation, you know, the transport at ion. Got the language and the etymology from my side, and I can see, you know, this is the future, and we're clearing up our act. We're cleaning up the game there. We're getting big in the game with what we're doing in many areas. So we'd like to continue, and we'd like to, you know, produce evidence. Lee's going to get some tomorrow. I'm going to get more in the forthcoming months from another MOT on the TDI Volkswagen and on the Pink Princess. Before I take it off, I just want to get off the road. I want to get one more MOT and do some work on it. So I'll give you both the results from that about August, September time. You'll get them from me, and any other news and updates. Yeah,
I'm doing
go on
my
then.
video tomorrow. By the time I've edited it, probably be Saturday. I'll put that on my Facebook page, LM Carbon Cleaning. I'll put the results of that Z4. Got to edit the video like you do, David.
Yeah,
And
I've got your links in
I'm
here.
no Spielberg, so don't be expecting no major movie.
No, I've got to know we do what we can. Yeah, that's it. God loves a trier, and trying we are. Say no more. But your links for, I've put you first out of honour and respect, Lee John, Facebook page, and then you've got his website. Then you've got David's Hydrogen Doctor Facebook and website. So yeah, please, you know, take them, look at them, share them, the video, and you know, we'd like to hear from you. My email is david@hydrogendoctor.com. Have you got an email, Lee? I haven't put that up there. Have you got any way of
No, I
contacting?
don't really do email. Like I say, I just put my phone number out there, and you know, I just use my Facebook page mainly. I use my
All right.
website, which has got my number on, and you can contact me on the old website. That's got my number. That's how I operate,
Good.
really. I think it's better just to talk to people or text people. I find it much easier.
I like that. If you haven't noticed, yes, it's better to talk. It's good to talk. So
Oh dear,
the preferred
BT
method then there
advertisement
you can use.
there.
No, I wouldn't say that. Not for me, but subconscious programming. I might have just got in your mind there. I like to do that. Get in the mind, get the cogs turning without directly doing that. But yes, I know who you mean. You're talking about that little Dorito, Danny Dorito.
Yeah.
Much.
Good to talk.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to the monopoly of the Italiano mafioso there is coming down. You know, we have a way of clearing up quite a lot of areas. So hydrogen, hydroxy gas, oxygen, many applied applications and uses. You know
Just
where
think
to
about
find
the
us.
results, though, David. If every taxi firm had it done, just in, say, a city as big as Chesterfield, if every taxi had a carbon clean, the results on the air would be fantastic.
Buses, don't forget London Transport, London itself, all major cities, Hamburg, Germany,
Yeah.
Italiano, Milano. We go around all the cities installing this, all the transport infrastructure, all of the diesel engines. We'd outline this. You know, we could even set up imagine this, we set up a company and we make 0 or 1% profit. So everything we manufacture and everything that we get in resource-wise and everything we outline to the world, the resources and the community, if we just cover the costs and make nothing or 1%, 2%, we could
80%,
continuously,
80%,
indefinitely.
80%.
You know, I'm talking the wrong man here, but no, but just to imagine, we could outline this, and as long as we set systems up that would make 0 to not much profit, enough to keep it going and to fund the ones that needed to be involved, and then a little bit of profit for return, but keeping that within a 5% margin, just a little bit of liquidity to spend and invest. But you know, we could do that. These government initiatives, we've had a quote and they've quoted this, we're going to do it. They set off and they do it. And halfway through, guaranteed, we've underquoted. Actually, it's 8 times the original amount, and we're going to be 5 years later. High-speed rail network, just for example, you know, and what's happened? Oh, wow. It's like, you know, so Carillion going into administration and bankrupt. Uniserve or whatever it is the next one. Multi-billion-pound government contracts failing. Now that's a multi-billion-pound. Wow. So, you know, there's a lot to be done. It's not easy. They won't open the doors for us, but research and development in our communities, like with everything, is where it would start. And you know where to find us. Lee, if you want to stay on, we can chat for a bit afterwards, and then I'll end the cast. Yeah, I can end it now if you want. Say anything, closing words and that, and then I'll shut it down.
And just thank you to everyone that's took the time to listen, and thanks for having me on, David.
Not been bad for a first gab, has it?
It's not been bad, Saul. I've enjoyed it.
Not been bad for a first gab. All right, then. I'm just checking the latest comments. Thank you, Lee. Thank you for the time. Yes, I'm getting hungry. I need to get into some food at some point.
Yes, I'll second that.
All right, then. So, yeah, thank you, Scribes. Thank you for the comments, interaction, your information there. The Tigra. Yes, Alan. The pink Tigra with the whale tail.
Oh, Super Leeds.
Missed a
It's
lot.
going to get it done. Am I in Sheffield? Well, I'm from Sheffield, but I'm based in Chesterfield, just outside Sheffield. Literally, I'm 15 minutes from Sheffield. But I am portable also. Super Leeds.
Yeah, that's all right. Then, yeah, I'm sure you'll connect up. He'll find a way.
Yeah.
Contacting
LM
on
Carbon
Facebook.
Cleaning,
The links are there. That's it. If they go to the description, Lee, I've put, if you go to the description and look under this video, there's your top, you are top with the Facebook website, and then there's my hydrogen underneath.
It's just like being back at
so
school, David, me on top.
Oh, we're live, you know, you forgot then, brother.
Yeah.
Yes, we love you, Lee. Thank you.
No problem.
Monkey. Free horse, Dave. Okay, thanks from Super Leeds. It's on then. So, Lee, if you want to stay there, Scribes family,
yeah, I'll stay here.
Thank you very much. All right, and we'll say much love. Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody, and thank you for having us on.
We'll see you soon, Button Moon.